Hey guys, and we're back to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner. We're continuing our bracketology scrub, and we're going right to West Virginia and those country roads. We already announced the number one seed out of here would be West Virginia. Some great alums ready to ball out. But you know what? Every great program needs a little brother, and no one fills that role better than the Marshall alumni of Heard That. Charge, what makes them so dangerous?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this team, especially having the regional move to West Virginia, and I'm really hoping everything plays out like it's drawn up. I plan on getting down to Charleston this year and taking a little change of pace from Columbus. But heard that Wildcats rebranded, so they've been the West Virginia Wildcats for the past couple of years, and to take on that Marshall fan base is just a big time move, led by the Elmore brothers. They're going to be fantastic. They just play with a lot of grit, determination. I've seen them in Columbus the past 2 years make some nice runs and put up some really nice fights against the teams they played. So I think they're going to show up and be ready to go in their home state.
Those Elmore brothers are so dangerous too. If that becomes a Best Virginia versus Heard That final, that'll be pretty amazing. Known quantities. A lot of these teams, you don't know what the roster is going to be, but when you want a known quantity, you go and you get the primetime players, minor league basketball legends. One of the OGs of the tournament, always here. I mean, they're going to be on the pod. I think they're one of our next guests, so we're going to have them on soon. What makes them such a dangerous team to play against, Charge?
Yeah, it's their experience. I mean, they've been in the TBT circuit for a long time, but they play in the ECBL minor league basketball for years, and I can't remember how far back they go, but I think it's maybe about 9 years. This team's been together in some form or fashion, and that's what you're going to get here. These are some overseas pros on here. There's some guys that are local, not playing overseas, but you're going to get a team that absolutely plays together and is going to give up a fight every single time. So probably one of the most dangerous teams in the TBT that the casual fan has not heard of.
Legends of minor league basketball, absolute legends. Back on the alumni tip, we got the Web from Richmond. Always a tough program. What makes them a dangerous team?
Yeah, if I was a fan of the Web last year, Richmond fan, I probably would have had a heart attack. They played probably two of the most dramatic games in the TBT last year, and I wasn't sure what to expect from the Web last year, but they've shown that they belong in some of the better team conversation. Chandre Jones, came out and just did a phenomenal job for the Web, one of the best facilitators when he's on the court in the G League, and TJ Klein are both back. They got a lot of roster still to fill out, but with those two guys back, I'm sold, and I think they're going to make another nice run.
Well, it's great too because you like to even see you have college teams, a smaller college like A10 basketball. People do not understand what that is like. It's a great league, and Richmond's always the Spiders always a great team in there. Okay, so we gotta acknowledge that it's always tough to pick these teams. There's so many good teams, and you can go ahead and flame me. This is one we disagreed about, and Charge will defend his pick, which is probably the right pick. We talked about it, but I had to stand by my initial ones. The Regent number 5. Charge, call me an idiot.
No, I'm not going to call you an idiot because just like I did horrible in the Columbus region last year. I got burned in a bad way by Ohio State. I didn't think they were going to get out of Columbus, and they win the whole thing. And the region I thought was another team that was actually going to be the team that made a solid run in Columbus and flamed out in the first game. I mean, obviously playing a great Red Scare team last year, but a team that has Milton Doyle, Kiefer Sykes, great supporting cast, a lot of experience, a lot of TBT experience. And this is a team that should not be getting knocked out in the first round like they did last year. So if they come back, hopefully they got a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth, and they're going to be a little hungrier this year to make a nicer run.
Yeah, talent is there, but West Virginia is a really difficult region. I actually had them out. It's not because they're not a great team. Let's be clear. When I have you out, it doesn't mean you're not good. It means this is such a damn deep tournament. But the region is dangerous, so I'm glad that we have them on here. Now, here's a new team that's kind of intriguing. Tell us why we should be excited about the Underground Kings, Charge. This is the new one, right?
Yeah, Underground Kings in the jump forward a little bit. This is my sleeper pick, not only for this region, but I think Underground Kings has all the tools to make a legitimate run. So when we start looking at those
Can they
teams,
get the bag?
they can make a nice run. I'm not going to commit to that yet, but I'd like to see them, be one of those teams that get to the 16 and the 8, and just love the team, highly organized, a lot of D2 guys. Haywood Highsmith was originally signed by D2, and he jumped ship and came over here. Jamel Morris put up 30-something points in the TBT game. I mean, they got guys like Tom Winbush, who are just, really good, skilled players. But I think what really separates this team is just some of the organization, from the GM to the coaching to the training that we're going to see. They got Shamgod as a booster, and just love everything about it.
God, Sham God.
And yeah, just everything about this team feels good, feels right, and I expect them to shock somebody this year.
In 2020, we could all use some feel good, feel right. So, hey, if they can pull off some fun stuff and give us something good to watch, I think we'll all be grateful in this nonsense that is 2020. So, you guys might ask me who I had instead of the region at one of my picks, and we can talk about this a little bit. But I had Playing for Jimmy V, a podcast guest coming up this week. In fact, they're going to be on our show. Charge, what do you think about this team? Because we kind of disagreed a little about Jimmy V, slightly.
Yeah, and like you said, this is one of these ones where you look at number 3 primetime players all the way down to number 11, the Southern Smokies. A lot of these teams.
What a deep region! What a deep region!
Ridiculously deep. And Playing for Jimmy V is one of those ones we're going to have him on the Zoomcast really soon. I think they got a nice roster of players. I just don't think they're in a great roster of players level at this point. They're going to come out and play hard. They haven't got a TBT win yet, so I just think they're going to need to really show up and influence that selection committee, because it's just incredibly deep in West Virginia.
Yeah, the West Virginia region is one of the harder ones to pick, and not actually the top seeds. I think the top seeds, the top 2 are, about as chalky as you get. Like, you're going to pick West Virginia, you're going to pick Herd that, but like from like 3 to like 5, like 12. Even teams that didn't make it, like there's not. Let me put it this way: there's not a team in West Virginia that doesn't deserve. If you're not in every team in West Virginia is deserving. Every one of them. So if you're not in, doesn't mean you're bad. Literally, all 12 teams that applied are TBT quality. Every one of them. This is the case for bringing back the Jamboree or bringing back 18-team brackets. This is the case for that, because this region's such a mess. But our last team in, and Kentucky, the Bluegrass boys will remember these lads. Division II unheralded. You also got Great Lakes Elite, Illinois BC, the Smokies, and the Hoyas, who Hickory's been a guest of ours as well. These are teams that are right on the bubble. So why did D2 make it, and what can these teams do to get above the bubble, Charge?
Yeah, D2, I hate putting them on the 8 line after last year.
After whipping that Kentucky ass.
And I did well picking D2 in my bracket last year. I had them winning 3 games. They got 2 games out of it. And so I feel really good about the team. I think just what kind of threw me down a little bit lower on this was just some of the turnover on their team. They lost, obviously, Highsmith, who didn't play last year, but signed over to the Underground Kings. Losing Branch is huge. Losing Willett to Tampa 2020. So they replaced it with some good guys, though. You still got Terrence Sullivan, Todd Withers coming in. So they replaced it with some good guys. But, just a little bit of the turnover, not having Branch, I moved them down just a little. And to your point, the rest of these teams are just really, really solid.
It's so deep. It's such a deep region.
Great Lakes Elite looks great. They were an early entry, and until I see a little bit more, I may not move them in.
Smokies are loaded. Smokies are loaded.
Southern Smokies, I think, is one of those teams. Illinois BC.
They've won games before, haven't they? Hasn't the BC won games?
They spanked Iowa State 2 years ago. They spanked them, and then they got Ohio State. I think they lost to them twice. I know they played them in the first round last year, but these are guys that, once again, reliable. They're going to show up. They're going to have a full roster, and that's the kind of teams that you may see sneak into the TBT this year based on their reliability.
And Hickory's even played primetime types. They're also an ECBL team. They're a friend of the pod. They've been on the show. We had them on recently. In fact, actually, oddly enough, we're taping this. We're releasing their show with this. But yeah, no, it's been kind of wild because, like, you look at these 4 teams that are out. Like, this was not the most powerful region, but it might have been one of the deepest because you go to 1 to 12, you've got good teams all the way down. And talking about a deep region, let's go a little more shallower. The rivers and water of Florida. Okay, so here we go. We talked about Florida TNT, and we're going to laugh about the 1 seeds because we both agree Florida TNT is legit. But Charge and I both kind of had a different reading on how this plays out. Let's be clear. The top 4 teams in this region are all insanely good. So if you rank them how you want, we'll talk about that. Number 2, Charge. It's a lifestyle, isn't it? It's a lifestyle, right?
Armored Athlete, it's a
Armored
lifestyle.
Athlete is a lifestyle. What makes them so good?
Yeah, just one of my personal favorites. If you listen to our podcast or Zoomcast,
AJ was great. AJ was great.
yeah, great. Generous with his time. But these guys just come out every year, perennial contender. AJ runs a tight ship and a good ship there, and gets a lot of people who just really want to come out and play for him. And they obviously have a lot of roster to announce yet, but this is one of these teams. They're going to show up. They're going to be one of the top teams, and I'd expect nothing different from them.
The top of this bracket in this region is so dangerous, and this is an interesting one because as a Memphis Grizzlies fan, most Spites. I mean, having a team Spites with an NBA level gunner like Spites as your big backers, pretty interesting. The roster seems to be a bit in flux, though. Why do you rank them so high?
Yeah, this one is basically DRC reimagined. So they're battle tested. So you got Keith Clanton, you got Spurlock, you got Brown, you got Speedy Smith, Quincy Ford. I mean,
Clanton is legit. Clanton is legit. As a Memphis fan who's watched a shit ton of USF games, Clanton is legit.
Yeah, and then Spurlock, got to give a shout out to the Charge guy. He hit 2 Elam ending game winners last year. I like the add in Alex Hamilton, and I think this is just a really solid group of guys that are battle tested. They've been around the TBT, and you don't want to face these guys early in the TBT.
Okay, so Charge, you can go ahead and say it because I had them a lot higher. And by the way, let's be clear: every team in these top 4 or 5 is dangerous as hell. But we disagreed on how to rank the 2020. You make your case first, my friend. This is probably the biggest disagreement we had.
Yeah, no, obviously, Matt, a friend of the Zoomcast, and
great guy, great team.
Had the pleasure of getting to know him a little bit, and I think what I love about Tampa 2020 is that they are putting together a great team. Let's call them Auburn Light. Yep. So they're not a true alumni team.
Final 4 Auburn Light. That might make your case better.
You can make your case later, but Bryce Brown, one of the premier shooters in the G League last year, towards the top 3-point makes per game. So I do love their Auburn core. I do like some of the guys they're bringing back, from their core guys from the original Tampa 2020 teams, but just the 2 teams coming together. So you got some Auburn guys, you got some core guys. I'm not sure what the chemistry is going to look like, feel like playing together. And at the top of this bracket, it's just loaded. So I don't think it's a slight being a number 4, but
not at all. Not at all. Not slight. Not slight.
A lot more experience in TNT, Armored Athletes, Spates. So it's a tough call, but tell me why you have them number 1. Mr.
I put them as my number 1.
Number 1. Terry's going to have at you tomorrow, by the way.
Dude, Terry can have at me because let's be clear. Like, I've had them as my number 1, but I put almost no separation at the top half. Like, I think this bracket was the weirdest one. Florida is strange. Actually, Washington, D.C. is about this strange because, like, the haves and have-nots here are clear. Like, the top of this bracket's a mess. Like, the top 4 or 5 teams, there's a drop. Florida TNT is legit. Like, Armored Athletes, legit. Tampa 2020 is legit. Spites, legit. Power of the Paw, legit, which I shouldn't say that. We haven't announced them yet. But those teams are all legit. I had 2020 there because, like, it talks about where we come from different angles. I'm a college guy. And, like, that Auburn team under Bruce Pearl just raises hell. And in a short bracket, a short game, hey, you got a weekend, win 3 games and raise hell. Pressing and causing nonsense have a lot of value when the chips are down. Give me a team that's comfortable in chaos in a short tournament. This isn't a scheduled game. This isn't we play this team there and it's a best of 7. It's a knockout round. Give me guys who have played and won in knockout rounds before. That's my case. By the way, let's be clear. TNT, Armored Athletes, Spites, etc. Great teams. So it's not a slight. But I had 2020 as my number 1, and that's why. Because knockout experience. Getting deep in a knockout tournament.
Yeah, and before you can hit the next team.
Yeah, I already said, I obviously shouldn't have said Power of the Paw is our number 5, yeah.
Yeah, and what's really cool, just to stay on the Tampa 2020 thing, is that, definitely Matt in the running for a GM of the year. If this
absolutely
to the potential that you're talking about. And I'm just really excited that we're talking about them on a higher line than we have in the past, where they were playing in the 7s and the 8s and the play-ins, and that's just a tough position to be in. So love your team, Matt. But Hayner's a little off base on this one.
That's fair. We disagree a little bit. And let me be clear. Let me also say, too, TNT, Armored, Spites, Powell, all great teams. Like, I think right here there's a bit of a line at the 5 seed. This is one where it's pretty clear too. There's a bit of a line below 5 where it gets a little. That's a line there, I think, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Power to Paw, I think, came out with a lot of promise last year, but didn't deliver. So they look to be regrouping, reorganizing, and obviously Gabe DeVoe leading them back this year. So I'm looking for a re-energized, retooled, a little more exciting Power to Paw team in their second year. So there's one, they have the potential to step up, and hopefully their second year they learn from the prior year, and they'll be able to go a little deeper.
Yeah, but they're a football school. Let's be honest here. Okay, number 6, we've got Team Kingdom. The bottom is perhaps a little bit of an interesting thing. Why is Kingdom higher than a couple of OG teams?
Yeah, so Team Kingdom not on the TBT website yet. So this is one of these ones. They're active on Twitter. They're releasing names, and what they released so far is pretty powerful. We placed them in Florida just because it seems like they do have a little bit of a Florida pedigree here, and that's what we're hearing on the street. But you got Matt Williams, you've got Mike Henry, you've got Billy Garrett, which are fantastic players and an incredible core on a brand new team. I saw it today on Twitter. I can't even try to pronounce the kid's name, but some elite shot blocker from FIU.
Dude, you're from Ohio. Give it a shot. People will be amused.
No. Just go with elite shot blocker from FIU. And so they
You're
have
a
a
wimp.
lot. I think a lot of talent. I think once they become official on the TBT website and things start to play out, if that's their first 4 players listed or 5 players listed, the rest of it is going to be equally as talented or better.
Okay, and then that's a great pick. I mean, they're going to be interesting. But, sometimes you got to reserve a spot for those teams that have been there before, that have performed. The teams like the Broad Street Brawlers that have been here many times. Broad Street's an easy pick because they're pedigree, right? To the bottom of the bracket?
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing with Broad Street, I don't know what they're going to show up with, but he's had the ability to bring some nice teams together. 2-3 years back, basically that Red Scare team, the core of that team came from Broad Street Brawlers. So when Broad Street was making some nice runs, it was with the core of that Red Scare team, and he came back and keeps fielding good, high-quality players. So I expect them to be good again this year. I expect them to be competitive, but without seeing any of the players, it's tough to say. But I think they're definitely in there based on their history, and as long as they show up with a good roster, they're going to be in business.
And we'll see what happens. And we got the Fortune Seraphims and the New Orleans Wolves. Obviously, the bottom bracket's got some new. The what? The New Orleans Wolves.
The who? I said the who's?
The who's? Yeah, we got a little bit of a. This is interesting. So Fortune and New Orleans would be new teams. They're a little light on roster. So Florida's a different situation than Jackson. Jackson had 22 teams apply. Florida had 9. So it's interesting to see the distribution of where teams are trying to go to, because like the bottom of this bracket, and there's no disrespect to Fortune or New Orleans, I'm sure they're good squads, but like there's spots here that maybe can be fought for, as opposed to like Jackson where it's like the inn is full, or God forbid like Columbus where it's like good luck. I mean, the rosters are pretty full there. Fortune's got to really, and New Orleans are younger teams that have to really kind of build into how they're going to get in the bracket in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know anything about either one of these teams, to be honest with you. I'm just going to put that out there. And these are one of the ones, I think, especially this year, some of the unknown teams, I think they need to make a statement earlier, create some buzz earlier from a TBT perspective, kind of what Tampa 2020 did in the past years, trying to drop some big names and get some nice boosters. And so, not seeing a whole lot from these guys. And to your point, it was just the numbers game.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's definitely interesting to see where people apply from. And let's go ahead and get one more for our next break. And let's go to the Great White Penguin north of Syracuse. Have you ever been to Syracuse, Charge?
I have been, not to watch any basketball, but just from work. I grew up in the Buffalo, New York area, so
I'm sorry.
I've covered some territory. Yeah, no, I'm
Are you a Bills fan?
I grew up a Bills fan, absolutely. So,
poor bastard.
the thing to remember about the Bills is, it would have been nice to get to win, but how many teams can make it to the Super Bowl that many times? So we had some good times in Buffalo.
I've been to Syracuse. My girlfriend's actually from Syracuse, and it's the coldest place I've ever been in my entire life. And I've been to Norway. And speaking of cold, what's colder than cold? Being a 1-seeder on your own floor. Boeheim's Army, obviously quality. What's even colder than that? The 2-seed taking your stuff on your own floor. The brotherly love come back as a 2-seed. What makes the boys from Philly such a danger to repeat as regional champs?
Yeah, no, these guys are solid as can be. Obviously, Bayheims, they're going to be on their home floor.
Didn't matter
Perennial
last year.
favorite.
Didn't matter last year.
And so I still think you give them to one. Brotherly Love's probably going to send me hate mail for putting them two. Great team led by Novar Gadsden. Just a phenomenal group of guys that have been playing together for a while. Good core of that team was with the Talladega Knights the year prior to last year. Knocked off Syracuse on the home floor, and so I think for them, once again, can history repeat itself? They've got to keep proving themselves out. I think they made some ads. I don't know if it's enough ads to repeat in Syracuse against Bayheim's Army, but solid team, and they'll be there in the end.
I mean, they're high quality. I mean, the problem with this is that Boeheim adding Light and Richardson is just so good. So, like, there's absolutely no reason to bet against Brotherly Love because they're still a great squad. But, like, I mean, you add two NBA level players, you're just going to get hurt. And then, of course, then you look at a guy like Gale or Steve Burt in Gale Nation. They were a long-time tournament participant. What do you think can make them so dangerous?
Yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned it, Burt, right off the bat. So no players listed on the roster yet, but
we're putting some faith in their history.
Yeah, we're going to put faith in Burt. English Poole led them last year, so assuming they get that same core back, they played some intense games in the TBT. Very, very competitive team. Love what they do. Love their style of play, and so I'm hoping they bring back that same core and make a nice run this year.
So this is a good time to mention that we disagreed a lot on seeding, but not on the teams. I think we had pretty much the same teams here. And we disagreed slightly on this next team, but we both agree they're quality. Why should teams be scared of Team Hank Gathers?
Yeah, Hank Gathers, I think, is just an incredible story. Following them on Twitter and honoring Hank Gathers this year, getting a lot of local players. Great story. I really hope things work out for them. And where we differed, they got a TBT vet in Rick Jackson. They have a lot of
Alum.
A lot of experienced players. So I was a little lower in the seedings on them. You're a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can compete. I think they're going to be a good team. I just think the story's generating a little bit more in the seedings on your side than the talent maybe.
It's also because I know Rick Jackson as a player, and it's pretty funny because I remember when he played for Boeheim's Army a while back, and they had a whole article in the Syracuse paper about like why they're playing, and they were like, "I want to play with my friends, or it'll be fun." And Rick Jackson was honest, goes, "The money, stupid." I'm like, "Yeah, that guy's legit." So speaking of teams that are alumni based, though, you gotta love St. Bonaventure bringing the brown and white. Now we ranked them a little bit differently. You put them higher, I put them lower because of current roster. Why do you think they're closer to the upper half of the bracket than I do? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's going to live or die by Posley. If Posley is on this team, it's a totally different team. I'm loving everything about them. I think they're a solid 4 seed minimum. So until we see more, I think your outlook on that is possible. But I'm assuming they're going to have Posley. If you're a brown and white alumni team, and I see no reason why Posley wouldn't show up. He's been playing in the TBT the past couple of years, and I'm sure he's going to show up here. And when he shows up here, this team is not a 5 seed. They're going to be higher.
Fair enough. So you know where I went to undergrad, right? Do you know that, where I went to undergrad?
I can't recall.
So I went to Washington University in St. Louis. I'm a huge Memphis fan. I went to Washington University in St. Louis. What division is Washington University in St. Louis? We are Division III. I always have a soft spot for these guys because as a guy who went to a D3 school, I have always loved the fact that like it exists as a division because like you go to Duke games, it's like all everybody's crazy. I literally only went to a couple of college football games at my college, and it's only because I was trying to sleep with one of the cheerleaders. It's the only reason I went, I swear to God. But still, they gave Syracuse plenty. Why are they to be feared at the bottom of the bracket?
Yeah, I can't wait to get them on the Zoomcast too.
Can't wait.
I'm D3 as well, the State University of New York College at Fredonia.
That's what's up, Fredonia.
So that's what we
got Fredonia and Wash U in the house, yo.
Yeah. Just I was the Blue Devil, so didn't really...
I was a bear. We have a statue on our campus, and it looks like a drunken, mentally deranged rabbit. and it went up my senior year, and I'm like, why is this here? So it's funny going to D3 school because people always wonder, like, oh, what happens at Division III? And you're like, I don't know. I didn't really go to the games. So it's always interesting to see a team like this. But I mean, they gave Syracuse plenty of work last year.
Yeah, the first year against Sons of Westwood, they put up in a really solid first half. I think it was the first half where they were in the game right along. They got them better. They played great in Syracuse last year, and I think gave them a scare that they weren't expecting. So I think this is one where they've proven themselves that they're continuing to improve. They're continuing to learn about the TBT, how to compete in the TBT. So I think these guys here, definitely a lot to continue to be in it. I know they're well respected by the folks in the TBT, and they'll be back.
Oh, they'll definitely be back. They're definitely a factor. And at the 7th seed, you got the Manhattan alumni team Dre. All I know about Manhattan, honestly, is it's not in Manhattan. I mean, I live in New York. You live in Ohio. I live in Brooklyn, New York. And I love the fact that Manhattan University is in the Bronx. That's funny to me. I don't know why. But why is this team still a factor?
Yeah, I'll let you say why they're still a factor. You had them ranked a little bit higher than I did. I got them.
Cohesion. They're bringing back some guys. They have a roster that sort of makes sense. They've been there before. I mean, I think they might be a little higher, but yeah, I mean, like, why do you think they're still a threat, though? I mean, I think the cohesion. They definitely have the ethos of being an alumni team. I think that helps them a little bit.
I mean, yeah, any of these teams that show up, like I said, it's anyone could beat anyone on any given day in the TBT. And looking at last year's game, they got routed last year, and until I see a little bit more, I'm not very bullish on them. So but being an alumni team, definitely we'll get some extra looks. But I think at the end of the day, they'll get into Syracuse, but I think it's going to be another tough road for them.
Yeah, fair enough. And the bottom part gets a little weird because we kind of same thing as Florida. It's more of a shallow pool. There are only a few teams that applied. So we got the Pride coming in, with the last team out being the Rochester Razor Sharks. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about either team.
Yeah, the Pride, I actually like the Pride, but they're not really doing a whole lot to state their case or create some buzz around them. So they've got guys like Jalen Morris who can ball. Petroselli's played in the TBT, and he can play. Gerald Beverly was a charge guy and just a really solid, strong big man. And so I think there's more to this Pride team, especially if their roster develops and they start creating a little bit of a buzz. But, really, I think the ball's in their court where they need to do a little bit more. And the Razor Sharks, this is one of these teams where they play in the Premier Basketball League here in it's kind of Western New York, Pennsylvania. So TBT fans who know Du Bois Dream. That's
what's up, Du Bois Dream?
Yeah, so they play in that league, and so this could be one of those ones where they play so many games together that they come out, and if they sneak in, they may be able to shock you.
Do you have a team that can challenge Boeheim's Brotherly here?
On this one here, I really don't think so. I have Brown and White I listed as kind of my sleeper a little bit. I think Posley's going to make this a different team if he shows up. I think Yale Nation is going to be good, but I don't think we have one of those kind of lower seeds, 5+ that can make a run at either one of these teams.
I think D3 can give them a fight, but I don't think they're going to do it. But hey, as a Division III grad, I'd love to be wrong. Okay, so we've gone through 6 of our 8. Let's take one more quick commercial break. We'll cover our last 2 and do a little bit of a wrap-up. Sound good, Charge?
Absolutely.